We're on page 2 and we have some pre-cuts. Let's review them. And page 2 is really easy. We'll get through that really quickly. First one is we had 2 pre-cuts that were 5.5 by 6 and we called these a pocket. And what we did was we stuck this on our scoring board. We are 5.5 inches across and we scored at a 1/2 inch. We then turned it, so now we are sitting at 6 inches. We scored it at a 1/2 and 5.5 on both of these. Next, we had a 5 3/8 by 11 inch. We called it a folder. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 11 inches across and we scored at 5.5. And we can go ahead and fold on that. And by the way, this folder we're actually going to be using on page 1. And our page 1 folder we're going to bring to page 2. I think that's going to give us a little more room in our page 1 for those extra picture mats in those pockets. So I pulled this out and I have it aside here. Next, we had a spaced pocket, and I forgot to write down the measurements here so that everybody is clear. It's 3.5 by 6 7/8. Now the first thing we did was we laid this so we are 3.5 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 and 3/4. We then turned it, so now we are 6 7/8 across. We scored at a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 6 3/8, and 6 5/8. So that only gives us a little teeny bit on the sides to wrap in on this space pocket. Let's begin by getting our main paper. In your paper pack, you will find this print. See that? So the first thing we're going to do is turn this sideways so that the trim is over here. Our first cut, we're going to measure over 1 inch and cut. So 1 inch. I'm actually going to turn it around because my blade's over here. It'll be easier for me to do 1 inch. So 1 inch, about right here. That brings me down to 11. I'm going to put this in my reserves. Next, what we're going to do is look at it like this. We'll measure over 10 inches and cut. So 10 inches. Put that in our reserves. Now we're going to look at it again with it over here, and we're going to measure over 8 1/4 and cut. 8 1/4. Put that in reserves. So there is our main print. On the back it would look like this. The first thing, I'm going to put that out of the side. The first thing we're going to work on are those 2 5.5 by 6 inch pockets. Now our score lines are going down each side and across, and down in the corner it makes that little square. On each one of these we're going to cut out the little squares. Once we do that, we can then turn it over and fold towards us on those score lines. Let's grab our glue. So here are my sides, and here is the bottom little flap. And by the way, when you're doing these, if you find that when you push in the sides and you lift up and it catches down on this so it doesn't want to come up very well, what you can do is just trim off a little bit more. And then it should sit flat when you pull that up. So I like to pull my sides in so I can see how far over I need to go with that little glue in the corner. Pull up, and then we'll burnish and let that glue sit there. And we'll do the same on this one. Make sure that's down. So what we're going to end up doing is the opening is going to be here. We're going to bring this all the way over and the bottom, and we're going to glue that down. But if you were to place both of them, you will see that they will kind of come together when we get that down. So again, the opening here, here's the bottom. And I'm going to press it in the sides, and I'm going to leave this a little bit to where it's curved up here so that I can get more into that pocket. And we'll do the same for this. So you'll be able to see some of that. There. So you should look something like this, so you have that. In your reserves, you will find this print. It's actually some of the cuttings from our previous page, but we're going to flip it over so we can see the lines. We're going to make 2 cuts. We're going to measure over 4 7/8 and cut. We'll measure over again 4 7/8 and cut. Now these aren't going to be quite as tall to reach the top, but that's okay. That's what our scraps are for. We're going to glue these down to the bottom, and it'll leave us the white up there. Kind of will separate our colors a bit, and they all match. And you'll just center that in between. You might be able to see a little bit of your white pocket there. And we're going to do the same and have this on that side. Okay, remember this strip that we cut off, this long one? On one side it looks like this, on the other it looks like this, and this is exactly what we want. So what we're going to do is make 2 cuts. We're going to measure over 4 7/8 and cut, 4 7/8 and cut. And this is from your scraps from when we were cutting off this. Okay. And we'll just do that. We're going to leave a little bit of white at the top. And we'll place that down. And we'll do the other one. So you can see with certain ways of cutting your paper, it can help you in the long run with these scraps. So don't be afraid to chop up your pages. So if you see a trim or a certain piece that you want to use, but definitely look in your reserves for scraps to use. Next, this is our spaced pocket. So I'm going to show you. We have 2 lines coming down this way, 2 across the bottom. So I'll bring it up. We're going to be cutting on this inside score line up to the top score line and over. So right here and right here. We'll do that again over here on that score line, the inside, and then the top. Just like that. Now we'll turn it over and we're going to fold on each one of those score lines. And the bottom flap has the whiter, and then the sides is only 1/4, so it's very thin, as you can see. Okay, so what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this. Here's our sides. If you were to push in, and that's going to give us that little bit of spacing we're going to need. Looking at it this way with the flap, it's going to come up and over. So what I like to do is just place a little glue along the side here, just right along the edge, and we're going to have to hold this for a minute. So we want to make sure this is flat, or not flat, but up, and we're just going to bring this bottom part up to match up with the side of this. And we're going to hold it there, okay? And then we're going to do the same over here. I'll just get my glue right on in there. I'm going to hold it in place, and I'm going to bring that up even. And I'll hold that. And another thing you can do is stick your tool in there because it's wide enough, and you can kind of press up while you're pressing down. So our space pocket's going to now look like this. Alright, so we're going to get right on those thin little sides, and then we have quite a bit down here to get. And it's important that we kind of center this in between as best we can. So just kind of lay it down to the bottom and center it. I think that's fairly centered there. So once you have it down, I like to take my tool, whichever one you're using. This one has a pointy here, and I'm just going to go right on in there along the sides to make sure it makes contact with that paper and down below. Now you have another one of these. It's pretty long. It's in your reserves. You'll see on one side it has this, and on this side is this. You will also find your polka dot one, and it's shorter than that, and on the back it looks like this. So measurement wise, this is about 2 inches by what? By 11. And this one is 2 inches by 7 1/4. 7 1/4. All right. So on both of these, and I'm looking at it like this, so this trim is over here, and we can see this. On both of these, measure over 5 3/4 and cut. So after making that cut, we're going to have this one that's going to place here. Don't glue it down yet. We have to trim this one down. So look at it like this. We're going to measure over 5/8 and cut. All right, let's get this glued down, this one first. And it comes right down. This really worked in our favor because this is semi-centered. Bring it down to the bottom. And then this piece, we'll just kind of push right up against it. Kind of put my hand in there while I burnish. And I want to show you something really quick. Remember our folder from page 1? I think it's going to look a lot better right in this, and it's going to give us a better look. So that's the folder we're going to actually use on this. I'm going to set this off to the side. Let's grab our 5 3/8 by 11 inch folder. And I'm going to grab my paper cutter. So in your paper pack, you will have this. I'm going to turn it sideways. What we're going to do is trim down one of these to fit on the front cover of that. But let's just cut this right in half so that we can release these two. Right down the center there. We'll put this in our reserves. And now we'll divide this up. Just right down the middle. We'll put this one in our reserves. What I want us to do is put this on our paper cutter. And you see this little brown trim? What we're going to do is cut it right in the middle of the brown trim all the way down. And we're going to do it on that side too. Just somewhere in the middle there. So as you can see, and I might trim this down even more, but as you can see, I took off half the brown there. And again, I might have to trim this down just a little bit more. The idea is, what I'm trying to do is to get that to where side by side, it will center in there. It will leave me some white border. Now I'm going to do the same with up here. Just kind of go and see how this looks as best I can. And I may have to trim that down just a little bit more off the bottom. And I'll take a little from the bottom and a little off the top. that's all we're doing here. So let's see now. And once you do that, that should fit right in there, leaving you a white border. Sometimes we just have to do that. So I put some pencil marks on mine to start because when I was planning this out. Now let's glue this down. Make sure that you verify first that you're going to get a little bit of a white border before you do it. And then at the end of the tutorial, I can put pattern paper or solid colored cardstock in there. So really quick, let's grab our page 1. Stick this right in there. Boy, that sure looks good. That's gonna, because our other one is really thick, I don't want it to interfere with how much we can actually get in our pockets. So now, here is our page 1 folder, and it fits in there nicely. And I think it's going to look really good. So before we finish up on this, what I'd like us to do is place score tape around the back side like a picture frame, 1 down the middle. And on this one, I think we can get away with 1 on each side, and then we can squirt some glue in between. So let's do that really quick. And then we're going to finish up with what we're going to do on the front side. Alright, so I have my score tape on. I'll burnish here in a bit. But don't put your glue down yet because we still have stuff to do. If you are using lace, cut a piece that goes side to side, right up here for the pocket. Let's see if I cut that right. Alright. I think this side is the top. Alright. I am going to use this glue because it's better for fabric, it's quicker. So if you are not using lace, at the end of the tutorial, or also flowers, because we're going to put flowers, if you're not using lace or flowers, at the end of the tutorial, there will be cut aparts on that last page of your paper pack that you can put something up here. But this is a nice clean look. And if you are going to be using flowers like me, when you do your lace, you want to tack down this bottom part of your lace as well. So I'm just going to go straight across and get in there. Make sure that's good and down. And then I'm going to use a leaf, and I'm just going to kind of glue this down like this. I'll put a flower here and a flower right here. Now these will get pressed down in the book, so, but it will, if you use the glossy accents, it will kind of pop itself back up. With this, I am going to use the fabric tack as well. Now for now, I'm going to stick something back behind, so in case I got glue seeping, it will catch on this. And now for the flower. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to stick it in the pocket and take a look. But I think that looks really pretty. I hope you like it too. So I'm going to let this dry for about 5 minutes with my glue, and then we are going to stick page 2 in our book first, and then we will stick page 1 in. It's time to get page 2 in our book first. Now one thing I like to do is, so that because it's all white and you probably can't see a whole lot, I'm going to grab out of my paper pack and stick this back behind so you can see where the edges are. And I'm going to show you first before we do. Here's our page 2. We're going to want to stay a 1/4 inch away from our hinge here. 1/4 inch away from this. So, and we want to center this top and bottom. So about a 1/4 inch. And that should give you maybe a 1/16 over on the right side before you see the pocket. And we're going to center that top to bottom. So that's going to go in. And you can see I have just a little bit of white border around that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove the score tape backing off here and shoot some glue down, and then we're going to place it together. And I'm going to leave this in there while I do it. All right, got some glue along the bottom to help me and shot some glue in there. And I'm going to leave this in when I do this. So 1/4 inch away, making sure I don't go over my page there. And I think right about here is where I want to be. I'll take this out now and we can burnish. Making sure you get your edges really good. And there's our page 2. And I think that looks really good. So I'm going to scoot this on over. Here is our page 1. And we want to stay away from this hinge. Now what we're going to do is we're going to try and line the bottom up, the top and the bottom up with the top and bottom of this one. And that's why I say it's easier to put page 2 in. Now we are going to bring it over to 1/4 inch away from the edge. So if you want to place a pencil mark over here, you can, so that you know you need to come over that far. Now it is going to create more white spacing over here away from your hinge, and that's okay because we can place something there. But that's how it's going to place down. So I'm going to remove the score tape backing and we'll place that together. Okay, score tape backing off. I'm going to shoot a little glue in case I need it for maneuvering. And I'm going to do the best I can without getting my head in the video. So about 1/4 inch away. I'm a little off there, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. I got that on a little bit crooked, but that's all right. I think it looks okay. So we're going to open that up, and you just take your time. I mean, I've been doing this for years, and still it's kind of hard to get things exactly straight on in. And for the most part, when you're flipping through, you're really not going to notice that sort of stuff. So just open up your book and make sure you burnish down really good, especially around those edges. So let's take a look. Here's our folder. Holds that shut. And get that in the pocket there. And I think that that looks really good together. I really do. I like it. We are now moving on to page 3. We're on page 3 and we have some pre-cuts. Our first one is 5 3/8 by 9 3/4, and we called this a pocket. And this pocket is different than our other pockets. So the first thing we did was lay this so that we are 5 3/8 across. We scored at 1/2, and we scored at 4 7/8. We then turned it, so we are now sitting at 9 3/4, and we scored at 4 7/8. We next had a 5 3/8 by 5 3/4, and we called it a mat add-on. And what we did was we laid this on our scoring board, so we are 5 3/8 across, and we scored it at 4 inches. Last pre-cut, we have a 5 3/4 by 11 inch, and we called it a folding mat. And what we did was we laid this on our scoring board so that we are 11 inches across. We scored at 4 and 8 inches. And what we're going to be doing with those, it's a different type of pocket. This is my little scrap thing that I did, and I'll show you how to assemble this. This is the pocket. And then what we're going to attempt to do is make this so that we have mats in here, and it closes up and it inserts in there. And we will be cutting these after we get our decorated paper. But this is actually a good size because you can get a good size photo on there. And for the insides. And it'll fit right on in there. So that's what we're planning on doing for this page. Let's start with our decorated paper. And because page 3 and page 4 are going to have the same prints. I'm going to cut these the same. So in your paper pack, grab both of these. And here's the thing on this. This is the way the print looks, and it looks like a little vase and flowers on top. But to me, the bow looks upside down. It does, and this is how it's in our book. If I was to turn it around now, it'll look like a vase, or it looks like a vase to me down here, but it looks upside down to me now. So we're going to remedy that because I want this at the top, but I want the orientation of this going the other way. So first thing we're going to do is place them both together, measure over 1 inch, and cut. These put in your reserves. Now what we're going to do is we're going to measure over 10 inches and cut. These 2 scraps place in your reserves. Now we still have these doubled up. We'll turn this sideways and we're going to measure over 8 1/4 and cut. So this is what we have left. So our orientation is going to be like this. And I'm going to bring it up so you can see this, and then this is on top. One of these sheets I want you to set off to the side for our page 4. This one is going to be for our page 3. Now let's grab these, and they're still doubled up. Measure over 1 3/4 and cut. After making that cut, you can put these in your reserves. Put one of these off to the side with your page 4. And now what we're going to do is, you see where the white little band is here, and you see our print? We're going to cut, and we're going to kind of fussy cut around this all the way over. And I'm going to show you mine when I'm done. All right, so I am done cutting, and this is what I have. As you can see behind here, this is what came off. This I'll put in my reserves. So the top of our page should have this brown trim. We're going to glue this right on top, making sure that it is even with the top of our decorated paper. And it looks really good like that. It's just the bow, it looked like it was upside down to me. So I am fixing that. And we'll be doing that with page 4 when we get there. For now, we're just going to work with one at a time. So I want to make sure that this is straight and it's even. And we'll burnish that down, and I think that looks really good together. And it gives us a little bit of separation there. So now our page 3 looks like this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to grab at is our 5 3/8 by 9 3/4 pocket. And for what we're going to do is, you see this score line that runs down to the middle score line here. We're going to cut on that score line all the way down and over. And we will do the same with this one. So you don't want to take off all of it, just that part. So with mine, I can't lift up, but I can definitely kind of see where my blades run in there. And then I can fix anything with my scissors, little snips here and there. Okay, so I took that off, and I'm going to do the same over here. And I think to make things easier for me, I am just going to use my scissors at this point. And hopefully I got enough off on that side. We are not going to glue this just yet, but we are going to fold. Where's my tool? So fold up, and then you will fold your flaps towards you. Now we want to make sure that our cuts down here is going to be okay, so I can see that I need to take a little bit more off here so that I can fold over. Sometimes it's kind of hard with having getting right in the right position on those score lines. So let's see now. That is a better fit. So what's going to happen now is this is the back, this is the front. So I am going to, so we don't get turned around, this is our pocket, and like I said, here's our flaps. Fold them in, fold this up, and just put front of pocket. It gets covered, okay? We're not going to glue it just yet. We have a couple things to do here. And in your reserves, you will find this print. On the back, it looks like this, and it will fit, nestle in there perfectly, giving you a white border on each side and a white lip at the top, if you notice. Okay, so let's open this up now. Peaks are up on these, and the peak is up here, and here's the front. What we're going to do is grab your score tape really quick. You're just going to come down evenly somewhere in here and just make a little indentation. So I think I will use my ruler and I will help you out with that. So we are 4 inches. So if you measure across the top of this piece with your ruler down, at the 2-inch mark on your decorated paper, make a line. Okay? And so you can see it, because it will get cut out. So I'm going to darken mine a bit. And I think we're going to, from the top down, we are going to come down 3/8. Make a side little thing there. So what you got is this. Here's my middle. Here's at 3/8. And now what we're going to do is bring the inside of our score tape in there. And we're going to try and get this even. So I know that this is halfway. There's my mark. I'm going to bring that up to that. And I'm going to try and lightly go first, just drawing a line to see if that looks pretty good. And I am just going to go with it. If you want to be more precise, you can measure from the side of your pencil mark to the side over here. And I'm about 1 inch or so, about 1 inch in is where the sides hit there. And all I'm going to do is cut that now. And it does not have to be perfect. And I can erase any pencil. It's easier to cut our decorated paper first rather than cut on this. So I'm going to grab my eraser now and carefully erase any marks I've made. Now here is the flaps. The peaks are up. Here's the front of the pocket. And what I'm going to do is center that side to side. I can pull this up behind so I can see better, but side to side we'll have white borders like that. You should have a white border at the top. And we are going to glue this down first. And then we can cut that same little dip in our white cardstock to give us a little border. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the same curve but leave a little bit of white cardstock. So you can go as thick of a border as you want. I am just going to go very slow here, and then I can clean it up more if I need to. So now I have that, and I'm going to press it up against this, and I can see I need a little bit more trimming right here. And I think I'm going to go with that. Okay, so you have it down like this. Now we have these facing in, and we know we need a little bit of paper in here. Remember this trimming off our main paper? All right. So we're going to go ahead and use this, and I have the brown trim over here and on the top. Measure over 4 1/4 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. Here's the brown border. I'm going to make sure that that's down on the bottom now. And again, I have my front cover facing down. My flaps are supposed to come in. I'm going to apply glue to this side. The band is down here, and I'm going to center it in between those score lines. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a white border there, just so I can see where the pocket in the back starts. I think that's good enough. So these scraps come in perfect. Okay, now we're going to fold these in. Let's grab our glue, and we're going to place glue on these flaps. You may want to put some scrap cardstock in there. I'm just going to use this right in there on the sides, so that when you fold these in and pull this up now, in case some glue wants to get out, it will get on that. So I'm just going to kind of press it and burnish on the sides there. And then I'm going to press down. Any glue will seep up on these scratch pieces. So here's our fun little pocket. Looks good. We'll set that off to the side. Let's grab our 5 3/4 by 11 inch folding mat and the mat add-on. Okay, so I have this laid out in front of me. You want to lay it so that your score line on your mat add-on is over to the right. And what you're looking at is you have a 4-inch and 8-inch score line. I'm going to bring this up. I don't know if you can see, but the shorter part of the paper with no score is over there. So score line is 4 and 8. So if your scoring board starts a little different, you may have yours like this, but just make sure you situate it so that 4-inch score line's here, 8-inch here. And then here's my score line over here. So 1/4-inch score line, or 1/4-inch score tape. We're going to come to the side over here and lay it right there without going over. Just try to get as close to that edge as you can. And we're going to burnish that down. Now we're really going to want to keep this straight, and this is where this is going to come in handy for me because I have that paper guide up here. I'm going to get this situated a little better. So I'm going to slide that in and press it up, and then this is going to overlap just over that piece. So, and then if we need to even it up a little on the bottom, we can. So I'm just going to do the best I can, just a 1/4 inch, and then we'll burnish. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to take off my pencil marks here. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold back, use our tool. We will fold this way, use our tool, and we will fold back, just kind of like an accordion. So you may end up where you have this little ledge over here, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine. But what I want to make sure is right here at the opening, I have an opening in the front, whether you do it on this side or you do it on this side, whichever way you want to do it. Okay? So I'm going to erase anything on this. We are not quite ready to cut our things. And on the back here, all right, so let's, the peak in the middle, if you were to bring these in and close it. So let's test it out, because this is a good size mat. This should fit nicely right on in here. We're going to turn it to the back, and I want you to keep this in here because it helps with the bulk here. And we're going to glue this down. Don't get glue on this. Here's our page, and we're going to bring it over, and I'm going to be about an 1/8 inch in from the side and about an 1/8 inch from the bottom. And now we can take this out and burnish. In your reserves, you should have this big piece here. First thing we're going to do is look at it like this. Your border is over on this side and down around. We're going to measure over 5.5 inches and cut. We can put that in our reserves. The first thing that I would like you to do is put this on your paper cutter and take off this trim piece. And I'll show you what mine looks like. And it looks like this. All right, with the trim piece now sitting over here, we're going to measure over 3 3/4 and cut, measure over again 3 3/4 and cut, and measure over one more time 3 3/4 and cut. So all your pieces should look like this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is verify that this is going to frame in there, and it should. So place your ruler down from the top of your piece here. We're going the long way. Measure down to 7/8 on this side and on this side. 7/8 should be a good one. Okay, so that's our starting point. We're going to take our scissors where that is, and we're just going to cut at an angle, and it doesn't matter. Okay, you can take one of your pieces now, and we're going to rotate it. So if it's sitting like this, we're going to rotate that over, and that should match up pretty much with our other little pencil mark, and we're going to cut at an angle. So they'll be semi-straight and the same. Just like that. If you can see any pencil marks, we'll take care of it. All right, so we have this done, right? Take one of your pieces. We're going to turn it to the back side. Here's our opening so that we get a good fit. And what we're going to do is center that side to side and top and bottom. You should be able to see your white. I'm going to bring it up. So you should be able to see that. And because our scoring may be a little off on each one of these, what we're going to do is we're going to fold it back like this, and now we will draw. Now that we got that, we can place these on top. It should be a good fit for when we do this. And let's just cut on those lines. That's another way to do it. It's usually easier to start off with your decorated paper. Okay, so now when I place this down, it should look pretty good and be centered. And you will have the little white lip up here. So this one, we're going to place right here. As soon as you open it up, it should go right here. So let's glue that one down first. It covers up that seam pretty good. And you should have a little bit of a white border up here and side to side. Okay. Now, here's our peak up. Fold it over. We'll place one right here. So far what we have, here's our peak. We have one here, we have one here, and the last one right on top. All right, now that we have that put together, we'll just set that off to the side. Let's grab this. And on this, what I would like you to do is we're just going to cut right in between these two, and we're going to get that piece out. This panel here, it says save the date. We're going to get that one out. And you can just use your scissors. These are just little panels. There's plenty of room still to chop off any uneven. Okay, these I'm going to put in my reserves. All right, so now I'm going to stick this on my paper cutter. And what I'm going to do is go trim around, and I'm going to show you. All that's left is this piece looking like this. Okay, we're going to glue that down right here. We're not going to back it, we don't need to, but we're going to want to make sure we get those edges really good because it's going into a pocket. We don't want it to snag. So here's our opening. Get that on and we'll burnish those edges really good. If you have a little bow that you can create, we'll just stick that bow right up there. If you have any flat back pearls that you would like to use, you can get that on over the bow right there. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to, since it's going on fabric, I'm going to use this. And I'll let that dry. Somewhere in the middle. Okay, that's going to dry. I'm going to stick this whole thing in my pocket. And now for this. Now I'm going to take my scissors and all I'm going to do is cut around this image. And I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. So this is all I did, and I just went around in a circle. This I'll put in my reserves. We're going to apply glue to this, and we're going to glue it down right there. That looks fairly straight. Page 3 is complete. I am going to take this out. I don't want to mess up my bow here. We're going to flip this over. We're going to do score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle and one on each side. Once you have the score tape down, we're going to place this back in the pocket so that when we lay this in our book, it will accommodate the bulk. And my bow is still quite wet. So I'm going to remove my score tape backing. I'm going to shoot a little glue down here, and we're going to place this in the book together. Okay, it looks like this is fairly dry. I'm ready to go. Open up to page 3 with same idea, 1/4 inch away, and that will leave us probably with about a 1/16 on the edge. So however you want to maneuver this, just make sure that you're even top to bottom. I think I'm fairly even right here. And I'm going to place it. Place my hand behind to help it out a little. Good. And you should not hurt anything on the other side by putting pressure down. Page 3 is complete. We are now moving on to page 4. And I think that looks great. We're on page 4. There are no pre-cuts. So again, we are going to turn this so that the trim is at the top, and we're going to use our scissors once again, and we're going to cut off the same little print that we see here and go around the bow. So no pre-cuts here. For this page, we're going to have a flatter page, and it's open for picture placement. I'll put this in my reserves, and let's glue it down. And once I have this down, this is when I want to turn this over, make sure that it's even with the top edge, and burnish really good. Alrighty, flip it over, score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle, one on each side, and we'll place this in our book together. Here's my page 4. And I'm just going to get it in there like I have with the other ones. I think right about there. Let's take a look. Page 3 and 4 look awesome. We are now moving on to page 5. We're on page 5. If you are die cutting, die cut one of these. It is the largest one. We'll set that off to the side. Let's get through our pre-cuts here. We had a very large one, 5 3/8 by 11 inch. We called it a pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 5 3/8 across. We scored it at a half. We then turned this. We are now 11 inches across. We scored at a half and 10 1/2. Next, we had 2 pieces that were 3 3/4 by 6 1/8. Each one we called a fold out. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 6 1/8 across. We scored it at a half and 5/8. on each one of these. In your paper pack, you will find this gorgeous print. On the back, it is this. And I think I want to keep some of this trim up here, so I think the first thing we're going to do is turn it sideways, measure over 8 1/4, and cut. Once you've done that, let's measure over 10 inches and cut. And here is our base decorative sheet we are going to be using, and we'll have the trim up at the top. Let's grab our 5 3/8 by 11-inch pocket. And score lines are here and down in the corner. It makes that square. On each side, we're going to cut out those squares. And we'll turn it over and we'll fold. Use our tool. This is a big piece. Let's grab our glue. Fold in the side so we can see where we need to place our glue down in the corners. We'll fold in and up. And there is our pocket. We're going to apply glue, and then we're going to bring it, the opening is here, all the way to the bottom of our piece, and we're going to glue it down. Now I'm going to pucker mine up a little teeny bit so I'll be able to see some of my decorative paper on the side a little. Alright, let's set this off to the side. We are going to get our decorative paper, but we can't glue it down just yet. In your reserves, you will have this print. It came off the cuttings from this, and actually we'll look at it on this side so we have the same leftovers. And I'll tell you what, let's start with this over here. Measure over 10 inches and cut. So we have this, and we're just going to lay that down. Next, you should have this long piece in your reserves. This is about 12 inches long. The first thing I want you to do is put this on your paper cutter and trim off this little piece. And I'll show you what mine looks like. So all I did was I took off that. So we have a nice edge here. Now measure over 10 inches and cut. Okay, we're not going to do any gluing. What we're going to do is use this kind of like a template. So I want you to take this and bring it down to the bottom of your pocket and side to side where it should go. Next, we're going to take this, and we have a trim up here. So we're going to slide it back behind. We're going to leave a little bit, maybe a 1/16 or so of white up there. And we want to make it even. And we need our pencil. We're going to take our pencil and we're going to draw a line, and we're going to keep that straight all the way across. So here is my line. We're going to grab our glue and we're going to seam this together. And we want to keep it as straight as we can. Oop, I need a little up there. I'll bring it to that line just so it covers. Next, what we're going to do is grab our fold outs. We're going to have a hinge off to the right and a hinge off to the left. So let's first start by folding on those score lines. I find it easier to first fold on that inner one and then get the outside one. It's kind of using my nails or what I got there and getting that last one. Okay, here we go. We have a score line here and an inside score line. On the outside one, we're going to pinch and crease so you will still be able to see the other score line. We're going to center that right in the middle there as best we can. Make sure it doesn't slip and get that tacked down. Okay, while it's still flat, I want you to take this one, hinge off to the left on the outside score line, pinch and crease, and we're just going to line that up with the other one. Once you have it there, we'll pinch and we'll do that. Now, if yours gets on a little crooked, we do have some magnets we're going to be putting on, so that can help straighten you back out. Okay, now that we have that, let's fold back on that other score line. And I'm just going to push it all the way over, and then I'll push in to make that little spacing, and I'll do that on this one too. Now I can arrange these, and they should overlap nicely. Now we can take this and glue this whole piece down. So let's do that. It'll be easier for us, I think. So I got that down there. I'm just going to open these up and burnish. Okay, set this off to the side. In our reserves, we have a bunch of these. All we're going to do on each one of these is cut all the way around the image. So all the white will get cut off. And we'll do this on those. And I'll show you what mine looks like when I'm done. So these are what mine look like. All right, let's grab this. We're going to start with the left folds over the right, and we're going to verify that that fits. If you cannot see a white border on your sides, then you will want to trim off a little bit more. And then we need to get magnets. We'll need a plus and a minus. And I'm just going to center that top and bottom. You only need just a little bit of white showing over there. All right, let's open this up. Let's grab a plus. Now on this, when we open this up, you're going to come right on in. I only have maybe 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. We'll put the mate on there. We will take off the backing. So I've got 2 on there. And this is where you're going to want, if you're a little crooked, you can kind of give this a little bend or so, and you'll line it up with the other one. And you can press. Then you can shimmy it, and you should have enough space over there. Next one to go down is this one, and we will place it down. It will cover that magnet. This is just something fun. You can journal on the inside or place a photo over what we do. And I'm just going to bring it over so it's over that magnet. Okay. We will open these up. And these 2 will fold over, and we will glue down like this. So if you'd rather have this one over here, you can. And then you can place this one over here. It's up to you. It's just how you look at it and what your eye tells you which way to do. And it really doesn't matter. I mean, really, it doesn't. I'm just going to make sure I cover up that magnet over there, and I'm not on my score line. But these are great little journal areas, or put a little photo. Alright, so I die cut a piece, and I'm looking to see where the heck I put it. Aha, here it is. We're just going to center that right on in there, just like that, if you're using this. So, that's what that looks like. However, there is something I would like us to do. Let's set this off to the side. On our cut apart sheet, this is in your reserves. We're going to get after the bride and the groom. And we can just go ahead and cut all of this off here. I'm going to stick this little piece in my reserves. Alright, so the idea of what I want to do is we're going to cut out and around this, so I'll get this piece out. We'll cut out and around this. We're going to come out and around this. So when it comes to this, I'm just going to carefully go. I'm not going to go in between. So I'll come down here and up and over. And I'll show you what mine looks like if you'd like to wait. I have all mine done. Let's start with these. So that's all it looks like. And this. So this one we're going to have to back, but first let's just grab this. The larger one, let's put some glue on it. We'll just bring that right over here. With the smaller one, we're going to glue that right there. Just wherever you want there. I'm going to grab some of my scrapped 110 cardstock. I'm going to apply glue, and then I'm going to cut around it, leaving a little bit, maybe a 1/16 of white showing. And when I'm done with that, I'll show you what it looks like before we glue it down. So this is what mine looks like after I cut it out. We're going to open this up. And we're going to glue that down. Now the places that we are going to glue down is underneath, across the bottoms. And we're going to glue it down right across top so we can still get a little something in there. So I am going to just turn this over for a minute so that it's like that. And I'm going to put a line here where I know I don't want to go past with the glue. Okay, so we'll go straight across the bottom just a little bit, and we'll put some glue right up here. Let's see how that works. And I think I'll put some cardstock back behind just in case. I'm just going to grab something here, but we can still get something in there. If you need to put a little more glue, do so. Now, stickles. Before we get into the stickles, I want you to close this up, and we're going to turn it over. We're going to do score tape around the outside like a picture frame. One down the middle, one on each side. So I have this all down. Now, before we put this in the book, and I'll remind you again, we'll shoot some glue down here so that we can maneuver, but we'll also put some in between these. Alright, stickle time. Whoops, not my glue, stickles. Alright, stickles. I am going to just kind of put some stickles on to give her top part some stickles, and then I'm going to do it right where her necklace is, and I'm going to bring this down, and I will press that so she has some there. I'll put a little around her little flowers, and then I'm going to kind of outline this real lightly. Remember that you don't need to go thick on this, not at all. Put some on the flowers. Then I might just do some random lines where her dress kind of folds. Okay, for him, I'm going to go ahead and get his tie. And I think I might just put a little bit here to kind of outline him a little. Alright, so we're going to allow this to dry. When that is dry, we're going to close this up and we're going to put some stickles just around in here. I'm going to work on mine right now. I'm going to keep this up. And to let it dry, I'm just going to put something underneath to prop it up. That way they can dry at the same time. And I'm just randomly putting around the flowers, just a little bit. And if you want to do a ceremony, like outline it, you can do that too. Okay, I'm like the stickles queen today. I'm into it. So I'm going to go around the bird cage. Fold this over. I'm going to put something right underneath there. And then I'm going to get after this little dress over here. Alright, I'm going to let this dry. And then as soon as it's dried, I will stick this in my book. My stickles are dry. I've shot some glue in between and down here, and I am ready to get this in my book. We're going to come on over to the left, and we'll leave 1/16 away. So I think right about there for me. And I'm going to place it. Time to burnish. All right, let's take a look. Came out really nice. We are now moving on to page 6. We're on page 6, and I bumped the camera there, so sorry about that. It should settle down a little. Let's go over our pre-cuts. We had a 5 5/8 by 5 5/8. It's a mat. There's no scoring. We had 2 large 7 by 10 inches. One of them we labeled a top flip, one a bottom flip. But on each one of these, what we did, we laid this on our scoring board. We are 7 inches across. We scored at a half, and then it was 11/16. So if you needed to get your ruler out to make a little pencil mark at 11/16 and then line it up with a notch and score, and we did that on both of them. Next, we had a 3 1/8 by 11 inch, and we called it a bottom flip pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 3 1/8 across. We scored at a half. We then rotated that. We are now 11 inches across. We scored at a half and 10 1/2. Last pre-cut, 3 1/2 by 7. We called it a top flip pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 3 1/2 inches across. We scored it at a half. We turned it. We are now 7 inches across. We scored at a half and 6 1/2. Let's grab our paper to cut. In your paper pack, you will have this gorgeous print. And it's this one, and I'm going to probably have the trim right at the top. So let's turn it sideways. Measure over 8 1/4 and cut. After doing that, we're going to measure over 10 inches and cut. The first pieces that we want is our top and bottom large flips. And what we're going to do is fold on those score lines. Okay, we'll start with the top flip. And our hinge is at the top. So the top score line we're going to pinch and crease. We will still be able to see the other one. And we're going to hook it on there. And make sure we are lined up side to side. We will pinch, and then we're going to glue this flap down. All right, we will leave it pressed down. We're not going to fold back. Next, we'll grab our bottom flip. The hinge is at the bottom, so the bottom score line, we're going to pinch and crease, and we'll still be able to see our other score line. We'll slide it back underneath. We'll line it up. Pinch and hold that down, and I'm going to check. It looks like my score lines are pretty straight there with my paper. All right, we can now fold back on those other score lines. Press and press. So that is what it should look like. Let's fold it up, and we're going to find our paper first for right in here. In your paper pack, you will find this gorgeous print, and on the back it looks like this. Our first cut. Measure over 9 3/4 and cut. Place this in your reserves. We'll turn it this way, measure over 6 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We're going to need both of these. So I'm just going to keep the bottom flip up. It doesn't matter which one you use. What you're wanting to do is place this down, and you will be away from that top score line, and that'll still give you a nice border around it. Let's glue this down. Okay, I got that one down. Grab your 3.5 by 7 top flip pocket. And down in the corners, it makes that square. Let's get this pocket ready to go. We'll just set that off to the side. And we will get this going here. Okay, we'll bring this back. So this is just going to be a pocket up here. This is our top flip on the inside. Oop, I gotta get that burnish down just a little better. It's starting to come up. And I think I'll get that when I'm ready. So I'm gonna bring it up to the top first, and we'll still be able to see a little bit of our paper there. Bring it over to the side. In your reserves, you should have one of these. Actually, you have a couple. We only need one. On the other side, it looks like this. Also in your reserves, you will find a piece that looks like this. And this is 2 inches by 8.25. So on both of these are both 2 inches, by the way. We're going to double it up, looking at it like this. The trim is over here. This is over here. Measure over 6 inches and cut. The first one I would like to go down is this one. And you're going to leave a little bit of a white border up here so you can tell it's a pocket. We'll get that down. Next, we're going to take this one, apply glue, and we'll glue it right on top. So it looks like we have a border there. By the way, if you are die cutting, die cut one that is this size and die cut one that is this size. And I'm going to put the large one off to the side. We're going to glue that down right like that. If you're not die cutting, your album's going to look nice and clean and look good without it as well. I just wanted to add this. I was itching to do some die cuts, so that's why I did it. And we'll center that side to side as best we can. And I think that looks pretty good. We'll do some detail work when we're all done here. Alright, so that one's all taken care of. It looks good. We're going to fold this one down. We should have another one of these. And we're just going to go ahead and glue this right on down. As you can see, we have used quite a bit of paper. So we are conserving as best we can where we can, but it's not always that easy. Especially when you're planning these out and making sure you get enough. I got that down. Let's grab our 3 1/8 by 11 inch bottom flip pocket. And we're going to do the same thing we have is cutting out the squares, folding back, and assembling our pocket. So go ahead and do that. I have my pocket assembled, and I'm going to show you how this works. We're going to apply glue, and then we're going to bring this here. And this should line up side to side with your bottom flip. So let's get that on. If you need to pucker it in a little so that it doesn't flop outside the margins of the side here, you can do that over here. In your reserves, you should have another one of these. This should fit perfectly side to side. Now, if you find that it wants to come over just a little bit, you can trim off a little. In your reserves, you will find this. Now, the first thing I would like you to do is kind of look at it where you have that brown trim up there. We're going to cut that brown trim off the side though, so put this on your paper cutter and trim. Once you've done that, measure over 10 inches and cut. Before we cut any further, we're going to make sure that this does not come over the side. I'm going to trim a little bit more off over here. Alright, I'm going to verify that this is going to fit, and it does. So the next thing I'm going to do is put this on my paper cutter, and I'm going to cut all the way down, leaving the brown, oh, I got glue on me, and the white. So when I do this, I'll cut it just above where this little bit of print, I think you can see it, just above this print. I'll show you what mine looks like. All right, this is what we got now. As you can see, I cut right above this little humps right there, leaving me a nice clean look here. We're going to apply glue, and we're just going to put that right there, nestle it right next to this one, and glue it down, and that should still give us a little bit of a white lip. If you need to bring yours down a little bit more, do so. So right down. If you die cut the largest one, we'll apply glue, and we will place that right there. Let's grab this out of our reserves. All right, I'm going to come right on in the side, and I'm going to cut this little bouquet out. It's going to get that, and I'm not too worried about that. And I think we're going to cut out and around this one. Okay, let's cut out and around this. You don't have to be real persnickety, just kind of weave around these. I'll show you mine in just a moment. I've cut out and around this. I'm going to show you this so you can see. I just kind of weaved around that. That was the easiest. And the same with that. Now these are something that we are going to want to back to some scrap cardstock, whatever you've got. I got to get a bigger one for that. We're going to glue these down, and we'll cut out and around, leaving a little border. I have mine done. So here's one, and here's the other. So here's the bottom pocket, and I'm going to place this one down here. I am going to get the majority of mine though with glue to make sure it doesn't snag up on anything. Just want to make sure I get that in there fairly straight without going over the bottom. All right, I'm going to fold that in, bring this up, and this one goes right here. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Lots of room here and places for picture placement. I think the colors look great. All right, we're going to set this aside for just a moment. We're going to grab our 5 5/8 by 5 5/8 mat. We're going to grab this out of our reserves. We're going to stick this on our paper cutter and cut off all the white. We'll start there. So after doing that, your piece should look like this. And it looks like I'm going to need to trim off just a little bit more. So I am going to trim this top, and mostly the bottom has the thicker. So I do know the easiest way for me is to lay it down and see how much overhang. And then I just kind of place a little pencil mark where I think I need to be, and then I'll trim it to fit. So now that I've trimmed it, mine looks like this at the top and the bottom. And that's going to give me a better fit where I can have a white border all the way around. And I'm going to glue this down. Okay, let's set this off to the side. Let's get some of our paper here. Okay, we are going to splice together several pieces because we have a lot of scraps here, and I think we can make some really good use out of them. So in your reserves, you will find this piece, and I'll tell you what the measurement is here as soon as I find my ruler again. This one is about 2 3/4. 2 3/4 by about 10 inches. Okay. You have this in there too. This one is 2 inches by 12 inches. You have this long strip. This is 1 inch by 12 inches. And you also have this in there, and I want this border. So what I'm going to do is put this on my paper cutter, and right here, which is above that, I'm going to put it on my paper cutter and I'm going to cut all the way down. Now mine had a little slit, if you remember. I accidentally cut into it and I patched it up. But I think it's going to splice together okay. So after that cut, this is what mine looks like. On all of these, and I'm just kind of laying them out here, and if you'd like to flip that one over, you can. And I think and then there's this. So on this one, you'll see over here, there is, not this side, but over here you have this. I want you to cut that brown border off. So now you're going to have it looking like this. You have your brown border down here and nothing over here. We'll put that down. And looking at this one, we're going to look at it on this side here. Where this is here, let's take off that trim, that little ropey trim. So now we have nothing. On each one of these pieces, measure over 9 3/4 and cut these. After making those cuts all at 9 3/4, we're going to arrange these. This one you can just flip over. And I'm just going to lay them down and kind of look at it, how I want to do this. And I think that that's going to look pretty good, just like this, because what's going to happen is this is going to come over, and that's going to give us a great background. What do you think? Well, let's do it and see what happens here. So I'm going to start with this top one. Need to use up some of these scraps, and they are definitely working in our favor. It gave us a beautiful background. So we're going to center this side to side, leave ourselves maybe 1/8 of an inch from the top. But once we set our first one, it should be pretty easy to get the rest on there. There's that. Next comes this one. And I'm putting the glue on the side with the writing. Unless you'd rather have that up, it's up to you. But I think mine's going to look better with the other side showing. I'm just going to make sure I get those edges, because we don't want any edges to kind of lift up there. Okay, I have this over here, and I'm going to just butt that right up next to the other one, making sure I stay straight. And I think by the time we're done here, it's going to look like the paper was kind of made like that, to be kind of a striped. Next is this. I know this tutorial, it kind of seems a little long, but because of all the cutting of scraps, but believe me, I'd rather take the time and do it this way than happen to buy a 4th paper pack for this size album. And then for this one, when I place it, those stripes going across is going to be at the top. So I think that came out really good. Again, this is what's going to happen, but we do have to get our magnet. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to rotate this over. So we want it the correct orientation, but we're just going to do that. Let's grab a plus and a minus. So with the plus, come up about 1/2 inch before you hit the magnet, so 1/2 inch between here. I'm going to turn this over just so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to turn it over, kind of center it side to side so I can get a good eye for what I'm doing. and take my pencil and kind of mark it of how far down I need to not put the glue. And we do need that scrap piece put back underneath, so in case we go too far down with our glue, stick that right there. And I'm going to kind of look, and then I can maneuver this a little better. So that looks pretty good. Just want to make sure I get up that glue down here. And I'm going to burnish a little bit from this side. I do want to put a scrap piece of cardstock. We're going to cross that. And I think I found the perfect piece that we can use. In your reserves, you will find this. It's 2 inches by about 5 1/4. All we're going to do here is place it down evenly. So we're going to have more white and more white border. We'll push it up there against our paper. We can see where the edges of our white cardstock go. So I'm just going to make a pencil mark about maybe a 1/16 inch down from that. And I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to see what that gives me here. That will cover up that magnet. We'll use it. So which side? I think I'm going to have this side up. All right. Now the mate. Place the mate on there. The mate is on the inside. And we're going to bring this over and press. And then we can kind of maneuver it. The only thing left right now is to get this paper, and then we can kind of look through and see what we want to do. In your paper pack, you should have another one of these. We're going to turn it sideways. We're going to measure over 6 inches and cut. The tags one is going to go in our reserves. Measure over 9 3/4 and cut. All right, let's shimmy that up. We will place that down. It all matches, making sure we have a border. And we'll get that down. And I'm just going to put that and try to get it on there as even as I can. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, that is absolutely gorgeous. It's time to do stickles. So I think I'm going to get mine in my book first, and then I can go back. But stickles I'm going to be placing on the front, and I'll probably go around. And then what I can do is I can kind of prop it up so that it doesn't get messed up. I'm going to put stickles in here and stickles down in here. So let's turn this over. On this one, it's very thick. I want us to do score tape around the outside like a picture frame. 1 down the middle, 2 on each side, and we're going to shoot some glue at the bottom and get this in our book together. Okay, so first thing I want to say is make sure your orientation is going the right way, that your magnet's down at the bottom. I've done that before. All right, I'll slide something back behind here so we can kind of get an idea. I'll just stick so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I think I'll just stick that right like that. This is going to come all the way over to the right, and it has to go lined up all the way to the right of your white cardstock to give you that extra little spacing. So right about there for me, because we're thick, so I want to make sure. And if you line it up doing that, you'll probably see a little bit of a white border over here left when you open it up, and that's what you want. We got it going, guys. Let's take a look. Again, I'm going to get after this with stickles, and then what I'll do is I'll put something back here. Put something back here to kind of keep it propped up while I work on these other ones. This came out absolutely beautiful. We're now going to move on to page 7. We're on page 7, no pre-cuts. And the first thing I would like us to do is find this in our paper pack. It's very pretty. We're going to turn it so that the trim is down here. Measure over 8¼ inches and cut. So this is what you should have. Measure over 10 inches and cut. All right, we're going to flip this over. We're going to do score tape around the back like a picture frame, one down the middle, one on each side. So this is what you should have. Flip it over. If you are using lace, we're going to cut a piece to fit top and bottom. If you're not using lace, that's okay. We're going to go ahead and place our glue down. We're going to remove the score tape backing. We'll shoot some glue at the bottom. And then what we're going to do is grab our book, and we'll leave a 1/16 of an inch of white cardstock over here. And we'll center it in and glue that down. And if you're using flowers, let's go ahead and put a vine right here. Grab one of our bigger flowers here. We'll put it right in the middle. And I've got the pretty flower background. And we'll just glue that right on down there. Let's grab this out of reserves. You and me, let's grab it. Okay, let's cut out and around to get the white off. And then we're going to mount this to some white cardstock, and then we will cut out and around, and we'll leave about a 1/16 inch of the white cardstock showing. Alright, I'm just going to stick this right at an angle. If you are not using flowers, you can bring yours up just a little bit more. And all I'm going to do is get the top underneath here. And you can make a small bow and glue that right at the top. And I'm going to grab my stickles, and I'm just going to do a little detail work here. Just kind of swirl it around. And I'll let that dry and set it off to the side, but I think that's going to look really nice whether you have your thing down here or up here. You can still slide to get something underneath there. And by the way, that is wet, but I wanted to bring up this and show you how that kind of came out. I thought it came out pretty nice. Alright, page 7 is complete. We are going to be moving on to page 8. Page 8, our last page, but don't run away after we're done with this because we do need to reinforce those page hinges. Let's go over our pre-cuts. We have a few, and this is a super simple page. So the first one we had was a 5 5/8 by 11 inch. We called it a book base. We laid this on our scoring board, so we are 11 inches across. We scored at 5 5/8 and 5 7/8. Next, we had, I'm going to bring it up here. Come on, focus camera. A 3/4 inch by 5 5/8. We call this a book base add-on. And the reason why I'm using this is because I'm not using 12 by 12 paper. I don't have any 110-pound 12 by 12. So I do need to add this on to my little book base. There's no scoring. Next, we have a 1 inch by 3 inch strap. And we laid this on our scoring board. We are 3 inches across. We scored at 1 inch and 1 1/4. Next, what we did, and we only labeled one of them, and it's exactly the same. We have 4 pieces here. That's 5 1/4 by 5 3/4, and we call these inner pages. On each one of these, we laid this on our scoring board. We are 5 3/4 across, and we scored each at 1/2 inch. Our last pre-cut is large. It's 6 7/8 by 8 1/4. We called it a fold out. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 6 7/8 across. We scored at a half and 5/8. In your paper pack, you will find another one of these gorgeous prints. We're going to look at it so it's like this. Our beautiful flowers and trim is down here. We're going to measure over 8 1/4 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. From this side, measure over 10 inches and cut. All right, we're going to situate it so the flowers are over here. The first thing I want you to do is grab the 6 7/8 by 8 1/4 fold out, and we're going to fold on both those score lines. Our hinge is going to be off to the right. On the outside score line, we're going to pinch and crease. We will still be able to see our other score line. We'll just hook that right on there. And we will glue the flap down and burnish it. All right, let's check, make sure there's no glue seeping out. We'll fold on that other one, and then we will push it. Let's open that up. If you were using lace, we're going to do the same thing we did on our previous page. Make sure that your lace does not get on your little score line there. In your paper pack, you will have one of these. The first thing I would like you to do, measure over 6 inches and cut. You're going to need this one. Set this off to the side, but for now, let's work on this. We're going to turn it this way. We have this trim here. Measure over 8 inches and cut. All right, let's apply glue. I do like the writing side, but I'm going to have this side up. So glue, and we're going to center it in there and burnish it. All right, let's close that. This piece, so what I would like you to do, kind of like what we did before, come to about the top of your little flower here. I'll give you a measurement actually. Measure over 2 3/4 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. Put this in your reserves. We're going to work with this. Measure over 8 inches and cut. We'll apply glue, and we're just going to center that right on in there. Now we do need to place a magnet on the other side, and we do have a cut apart that covers it. So we'll get that next before we forget that. Beautiful background sheet. Let's open that up. We'll need a plus and a minus, and we'll bring it in to the edge of our decorated paper there. And now what I would like you to do, make sure you have some spacing. We'll close it, and we're just going to put the mate there and just squirt a little glue underneath. Just like that. Let that sit for a minute. Here is our cut apart sheet. And next to the shoe, you will see that. And all we're going to do is cut out and around it. We're not going to back it to anything. We don't need to. This is what mine looks like. Yep, I'm just going to glue it right on down over that. So let's set this aside. Let's grab our 5 5/8 by 11 book base, and we're going to fold on those score lines. We're also going to need 3/4 by 5 5/8 book base add-on. Okay, so if you notice, on one side you're going to be longer and you're going to be shorter on the other side. So as you can see, shorter on one side. Okay. So you're going to need your ruler here, and you're going to want to erase anything. All right. So we're just going to kind of slide that back underneath, kind of line it up top and bottom. What you're going to want to do is there is a score line right here and here. On this one, what I'd like you to do is measure out 5 5/8 to that point. Okay, so mine's actually sitting perfect, and where that thing is, I am going to draw. So I'm 5 5/8 there, so I've got that. So I'm just going to measure now what that is, and it's about a 1/2 inch from the side. Well, let's grab our scoring board. And all I'm going to do is use this top piece here to keep me straight. So I know that that's where I wanted to be. I'm just going to put a little glue on the little side there. I'll slide that underneath, and I will come to that line. This is the back, and it is going to get glued down. So when you close it, hopefully it will match up. And if it doesn't, if you got it on just a little bit, you can stick this on and trim it while it's in this position. And if you need to straighten up your bottom a little, that's fine. But here is our book base. In your reserves, you will find this print. Let's go ahead and cut out and around on both of these, and it's just taking off the white. We'll start there. So I left the brown on there. Let's grab this one, and then let's place it right on top, and you should have a white border all the way around. Now our opening is going to be here, and your seam you'll put in the back. Once you have that on there, this piece set off to the side, let's grab our 1x3 strap, and we are going to fold on those score lines. In your reserves, you'll want to find a scrap. And I found this one. This is off the cutting from this. Look at it like this. You see where the rope is? I want you to put this on your paper cutter, and I want you to cut just to the left all the way down of that little rope. Once you've done that, you should get a piece like this. And on the other side is some writing, and we can use that. So here's the short side, here's a score line, here's a score line, and I'm going to darken them up so you can see where they are. We're just going to fold all the way back. So this is the bigger piece. Take this and place it down, and you will have a white border, top, bottom, and leave it to the side. I want you to go ahead and draw a line after you've centered it right where the side of your white cardstock is. And then we'll just cut. I'm just going to hand cut this. Okay. And I have some flowers going this way. I just kind of turned mine around. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and I'm going to cut at an angle. Now once I do that, that little piece here, I'm going to rotate over to the other side so it will give me the same angle cut. And I'll just match that up and cut. If it's not perfect, it doesn't have to be. So what you're doing is getting it to where it's kind of a point. And actually I'm going to have the flower side up because I want to do something there. So now I'm just going to place this, and that should fit. Now, and here's the short side. Now I'm just going to cut around that so I have a border. So if you do the writing side up, that's fine. Let's get this attached and get our magnet going. So here is the short side. Inside score line, outside. On the outside one, I want you to pinch and crease, and here's the back where that seam is. And we're just going to hook this back behind our piece, right in the middle there. All right. And we'll get that glued down. So, and we'll open it up. We'll grab a plus. And we will make sure that we are at least a good 1/2 inch or so away from the tip over here. Okay, so this is how we're going to do this. I want you to place this down, And I'm going to show you how this is going to work. If you were just to put it anywhere there, right, and close that, it will find the mate. We're just going to place it right here. Let go. Okay, so we're going to bring this over. Don't let the adhesive touch the back yet. Bring this over, and it should find its mate. And then you can press, and then shimmy that up. So now it's placed it where it needs to be. So that's just another way in case you forget to put a magnet on and you need to get one on. All right, let's grab our inner pages, and I'm going to erase, and we're going to fold on each one of these score lines, and this is super simple. Okay, let's grab one. I'm going to bring this up, and here is my score lines, so you can see where my score lines are. The peak is up. We're going to put glue. We'll fold this back, and we will bring this up to where we are a 1/16 inch away from that. And we will center that top and bottom, so there's the same amount of white cardstock up here and here. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm real close to it there, but not quite on it. Let's do it. Okay. And I'm centering that. I think right about there's good. And we'll burnish, open it, burnish again. And now these are easy. I have this shut again. We'll apply glue, and this goes directly on top of this one, and you can just line it up with it. And we're going to do the same thing. Apply glue, put it on top, apply glue, and put it on top. So let's get that done. Okay, so let's take a look. That looks pretty good. Nice little book. Okay, let's open it up. Remember this? Let's go to the very back where we have our seam. And let's make sure that we don't need to trim. We may need to trim this down just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on either side. I think I'll have this one in the back. Make sure I don't get on my little score line back there. Center top to bottom, and I'm going to place that. Okay, we'll go to the front, and we're going to use some paper here. In your reserves, you will have this beautiful print on the back. It is this. You'll also have a piece that has the polka dots on it. This is about 2 inches by 8 1/4. This one is 12 inches by about 3 3/4. On each one of these, I'm kind of looking at it like this, measure over 5 3/8 and cut. We'll start there. And once you've done that, let's see if this fits. That fits pretty good there. I'm going to slide that back underneath and over, and we'll place it. So first one down, I think I'll go with this one. Now I'm going to leave these white. You can just stick photos in there, or at the end of the tutorial you can cut for that. Let's grab this. Now we're going to be gluing that down right like that. We have this beautiful, and I'm going to bring it down a little bit so I have a little more of that trellis showing. But we have that beautiful book look, and we have the fold out, and it'll look really nice. So let's get some glue. And that looks absolutely gorgeous. I love it. Okay, let's, before we do anything else, score tape around the outside like a picture frame. 1 down the middle. And for this one, I think we should go 2 on each side. If you don't want to do that, you can go 1 on each side, but make sure you get some glue in between. And we're going to then what we can do is we can place it in our book, and then we can do some extra detail work if we wanted. I'll be using some stickles on that front little book cover. Okay, I've got glue around the back. I have it even on my magnet. Let's get our book. Last page. On this one, you're going to come until you are about, I'd say about a 1/2 inch from the side. And we will try and get this on straight. Just place that. And we will lift. And we will burnish. Be careful. Be very careful of that magnet that is behind, that you don't scuff it. Beautiful. All right, really quick. I'm just going to do some detail work with my stickles on this. I got my stickles down. I'm going to need that to dry. In the meantime, I can start cutting paper to get ready to reinforce those page hinges. So I'm going to stick this off to the side. In your reserves, you will find this gorgeous piece. On the back, it looks like this. We're going to turn it this way. The trim is over here. Measure over 8 7/8 and cut. Now, looking at your piece like this, I need you to cut 3 strips that are 1/2 inch wide. So let's do that. So here are my 3 pieces. I'm still going to need this. Now, measure over 3/4 and cut. And we will start with that. So since my stickles are still drying, I'm going to start back here. So I want my 3/4 wide one, and we'll work from the back forward. If we need more strips, we will. So if you notice and you were to place this down to the right of your hinge on this back one, you will notice that it will overhang top and bottom, and that is exactly what you want to do. And we're going to use glue, so just make sure you center this top and bottom the same. This is what's going to help hold down. But however, this particular piece has really no value in this book for holding anything down. It is just the piece that's going to cover this big area. But it does help hold down the spine piece. But the other ones are the more crucial ones. So we're just going to center that top and bottom right here. Here's my hinge, by the way, so it's away. And you want to use your tool to really get down onto your spine there. Wipe up any glue. And I think what I'm going to do is I am going to stick something here so that it does not get on my stickle, so we can continue. Now we're at the 1/2 inch ones, and this is easy. We're going to apply glue. We're going to lay it right in between our hinges. It'll fit perfectly. We'll line it up with the bottom down here of our other polka dot, and we'll glue that down. So this is one that is crucial because it's holding down that piece there of our page hinge that attached to the spine. And just try to get that as even as you can without getting on your thing, and then just make sure you burnish down really good. This one here, and you can see where you can line up. And then this one, here's my hinge over here. This will fit perfect as well. All right. Now, one thing you're going to have to do is measure and cut your per how we put our hinges in. We might all be slightly different. So with that piece of polka dot, you're going to line it up with the side of the polka dot here, and you will bring it until it's at the side over here of that polka dot in the back. Okay? Once you've done that, now place it where it needs to go. So I'm pushing it up now against those pages. And all I'm going to do is come down to where I'm a 1/16 inch away from the bottom of my book, and I'm going to make a pencil mark. Okay, so when I put this on, I'm actually going to cut it the long way, so it leaves me this big thick chunk here that I can still kind of put right next to here if I wanted. So let me show you. All I did was cut that big skinny piece. This one I'll set off to the side. Now I already know where I'm supposed to cut on this one. I'll remove any pencil mark, and now we're going to apply glue to that. You should check this though to make sure you're going to fit in there, and go right on across. And it does not interfere with your pages, and it just helps reinforce those down. Now I still have this, so now I'm going to turn this around so I can see. That'll get my head in the video. And make sure that this piece is also going to work for this one. So I'll put it up against the side. Make my pencil mark. Cut. And glue it down. And I think that looks pretty good. Now for this. If you would like to do an extension off to cover up any seam line here, whatever, you can. And we'll have to cut it down. We don't want it to go all the way to the top like this. So all I'm going to do is line this up at the top of my fold out here, come down to the bottom, make a pencil mark, and then I'm going to bring it down here. And I see where my hinge is here, because make sure that you know where your hinge is. Mine's right here. And I'm going to come over 1/8 of an inch there away. So I'm going to cut that. So that just lines up there. And here's where I have to cut across. And now I'm going to glue it down. If you want to use a different color, like on the back side, that would look good too. So it's completely up to you. I'm going to go with the polka dots. Alright, I'm going to close this. I still have my thing back there, but let's take a look. This came out absolutely amazing. I'm really happy with the results. The paper was super easy, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'll see you on my next one. Happy crafting, everybody!